I thought love was a house, solid, safe, built to last. But mine, it burned down in a single night, and the ashes are still choking me. My name's Ethan, and this is the story of how I lost everything and found something I can't unsee. Before we dive in, if you've ever faced betrayal from those you trusted most, make sure to subscribe. You're not alone, and here we share stories of survival, strength, and second chances. 4 years. That's how long I thought I had a home with Lila. We weren't perfect. Hell, who is? We'd bicker over dishes, laugh over bad reality TV, and fall asleep to the hum of her old box fan. It was ordinary, but it was ours. I'd come home from my warehouse job, boots heavy with dust, and she'd be there, stirring pasta in the kitchen, her hair catching the last bit of sunlight through the window. I'd think, this is it. This is enough. But 2 months ago, the air in our house changed. It got thick, like the moment before a storm breaks. Lila started coming home late from her bookkeeping job, once a week, then twice. She'd walk in, eyes bright but distant, like she was carrying a secret that made her glow. Her phone, once forgotten on the counter, was now glued to her hand, buzzing with texts she'd answer in whispers behind closed doors. I'd ask, "Everything okay?" And she'd flash a smile, too quick, too sharp, and say, "Just work, Ethan. You worry too much." Her words stung, not because they were cruel, but because they weren't hurt. The Lila I knew would tease me gently, call me her overthinker, with a kiss that softened the edges of my anxiety. Now her eyes wouldn't meet mine. They'd drift to the floor, to the wall, to some place I couldn't follow. It started small. A Tuesday night, 9 p.m., her heels clicking on the hardwood later than usual. "Big client," she said, shrugging, but her fingers twitched around her phone. I pushed it down, that gnawing in my gut, because I didn't want to be that guy, the jealous husband who snoops. But the late nights multiplied, Tuesdays and Thursdays like a schedule I wasn't invited to. She'd leave for work at 7 a.m., hours before her office even opened, claiming she needed to get ahead. One Thursday, I couldn't take it anymore. I drove to her office, heart hammering, and parked across the street. The lot was empty. No cars, no lights, just the flicker of a security guard's flashlight. My stomach twisted. She wasn't there. She hadn't been there. I sat in my car, the cold leather seat biting through my jeans, and realized the woman I loved was lying to me. When she got home that night, I asked, "How was work?" My voice was calm, but inside I was screaming. She sighed, exhausting, and didn't look up from her phone. I wanted to grab it, to demand answers, but instead I nodded, my throat tight with the weight of what I knew. Then I found it, the thing that broke me. Her purse was on the counter, unzipped like she'd gotten careless. I don't know why I looked, call it instinct, call it desperation, but there, in a side pocket, was a cheap flip phone, not her usual one. My hand shook as I opened it. Dozens of texts, all to J words that burned into my brain. "Miss you already. Last night was everything. Can't wait to see you again." And then, the one that stopped my heart. "Love the way your couch feels under us." They'd been in my house, in my bed. While I was at work, sweating through 12-hour shifts, someone else was living my life with my wife. I snapped photos of the texts, my hands trembling so bad I could barely hold the phone. I hid it back in her purse and waited, listening to her hum in the shower like nothing was wrong. Like she hadn't just gutted me. I couldn't just sit there. I needed to know who Jay was. So I did something I'm not proud of. I set up a hidden camera in our living room. I told myself it was just for proof, just to protect myself. 5 days later, I got my answer. I watched the footage that night, alone, the house so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. there was Lila walking through our front door, laughing, her hand tangled with someone else's. And then I saw him. My brother, Caleb, my brother. The guy who taught me how to ride a bike, who stood at my wedding and toasted to our forever. They kissed in my living room, right where we'd hosted Christmas last year, where Caleb had hugged me and called me his best friend. I watched them climb the stairs to our bedroom, and I felt my world collapse. The texts made sense now, the ones about my schedule, my late nights at work. Caleb knew everything because I'd told him. I'd trusted him, and all those times he'd said, "You're overthinking, Ethan. She loves you." He was lying to my face, covering his tracks while stealing my life. I confronted them the next day, both of them. In my house, their faces pale when I said, "I know. I have proof." Lila tried to deny it, her voice sharp, accusing me of invading her privacy. Caleb, though, he got in my face, called me dramatic, and then he shoved me. Hard. I hit the coffee table, pain shooting through my ribs. I fought back, not because I wanted to win, but because I was drowning in rage and hurt. He was stronger, pinning me down, his fist slamming into my jaw, while Lila screamed for us to stop. I tasted blood, saw the glint of a watch on his wrist, one I'd never seen before, one she must have bought him. I grabbed a knife from the kitchen, not to hurt him, but to make him stop. And he did, backing off, calling me the crazy one. They left, but not before Caleb said, "You're tearing this family apart, Ethan." Like I was the one who'd betrayed them. I pressed charges, filed for divorce. My family, my parents, my sister, they're begging me to forgive, to keep the family together. They say I'm being vindictive, that love makes people do stupid things. But this wasn't love. This was a choice. 100 choices, made over months, to lie, to cheat, to hurt me in ways I'll never unfeel. I'm moving away, starting over in a city where the air doesn't smell like betrayal. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, but I know I can't live in a world where I pretend this didn't happen. I loved them both, Lila, Caleb, but love doesn't mean swallowing poison to keep everyone else comfortable. If you've ever been betrayed, if someone's taken a piece of you and walked away smiling, tell me, how do you move on? How do you rebuild when the people you trusted most are the ones holding the match? Drop it in the comments. I need to know I'm not alone.